Hello and welcome to MudderRucker, the women's rugby podcast. This is season 3. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Ailbhe O'Nolan, and this is Cian and Will, or the token man. It's not sorry, Cian.
Yeah, I am.
And somewhere far away and very warm and sunning herself is Chloe Pearse. So dedicated on your holidays, and you're still coming in.
Yeah, only if I can bring my can of Dorado, my bucket hat, and my sunglasses did I commit to this.
If at any point you need to break and just go off and get a cocktail, just let us know. We're happy to help out there.
Yeah, I'll see. I'll have to roar down from the balcony, throw one up.
Well, they're used to chugging around. They should be able to.
Yeah, throw it in a bottle.
So Sixmas is nearly upon us, and we're here to preview the squads, player news, and overall club form. We're looking forward to another Six Nations where yet more attendance records are about to be smashed. Today specifically, we're going to look at Ireland's new leadership as King is crowned Queen. We talk about France's bold rebuild and England's plan for continued dominance. It's been a while though. How is everybody?
Us or the squad?
Yeah, well, us. I feel like it's about 6 years since we recorded, and I don't even know how to do a podcast anymore.
It does feel like a lifetime ago. You know, I mean, that the Women's World Cup was amazing, but it just feels like it was eons ago.
Eons ago. Chloe, probably feels like nothing to you because you're still so involved.
It does, but I actually look back and I'm like, oh, if I could go back to September to travel over again, I would do it 100 times over to go for those weekends.
If we had a time machine, we'd just do that on loop until we die, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah, and I tell you, if I did that every weekend, I'd die very quickly.
Truth. So we'll start off by looking at England. Like I said, they're planning to continue their dominance. A few changes, though. New captain, Meg Jones, primarily because they have really planned their lives out very well, and half the squad is pregnant.
World Cup cycle, you know, that's the way women have to think now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Abbie Ward just cracking out children in the middle of World Cups, coming back then and winning them, and getting back for the next one. So Lark Davis and Zoe Hallcroft said that looks good. It sounds like something I might try, and then Meg Jones steps up as captain, and a couple of players step in. But look, it's great for them. You see the videos on Instagram that they're still in training with the squad. Lark Davis is still doing chin-ups while carrying a second child. They need a purple band to do a chin-up. Like, what is even going on? But it's amazing that they have the ability to do that, and scary that it doesn't even matter the players they're just going to bring in instead of them.
It is amazing to see. I mean, like Zoe Hallcroft, obviously stepping aside as captain is going to impact them quite hugely. But like Abbie Ward has set that standard. She's gone off. She's done the pregnancy thing, come back once. She set that standard for the other two to, quick, come back like. So obviously they're in there, they're still heavily involved. They're making sure that they're getting as much reps in as possible and as is safe to do so that their recovery is a shorter time. It's incredible dedication.
Yeah, they're real trailblazers, aren't they, England? And I know we kind of have our own now with Amy Lee as well, which is nice to have a piece in it and see her up in the HPC training as well. But like that, I think Abbie Ward probably set the standard. People will argue Emer Considine set the standard here in Ireland, but
this is very true.
Unfortunately for Emer, she didn't go and win a World Cup afterwards. But it just shows, with the right kind of training, safety as well, that the recovery can be shorter. But being in that professional environment definitely helps.
Yeah, I think Amy Lee, I'd imagine she's having twins for a reason, just one on each wing, like.
Or maybe a fullback and she'll be on one wing, or maybe she's going to bang out another three in between them, then they'll have a sevens team. Who knows?
She could very quickly produce a sevens team, yeah. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. And that would be a scary sevens team, wouldn't it? The Lee Costigans.
Oh Christ, no, that doesn't bear thinking about. So the new captain, Meg Jones, before the new captain was announced, it was quite clear that they would be naming a new captain, and I was thinking about who are you looking to for the captain, and Meg Jones did cross my mind, but typically we don't see centres as captain as often as we would see second rows, back rows. even hookers, so I thought it was an interesting pick, but a very good one.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose she was vice captain for the World Cup behind Zoe Allcroft as well. So maybe like a natural progression in there. But like that, she's a player who leads by example. She's a bundle of energy, seems to get on with everyone, including this weird relationship she seems to have with John Mitchell and these tattoos they have. But definitely someone who kind of gives her heart to the jersey. Same with Eileen. I watched the Eileen Luxembourg game the other day, and she was amazing again and just create something out of nothing. And then just like that seems like the maddest character off the pitch, cool as a breeze, but definitely someone who gives it all when they're in the jersey. So like that, I think probably a good choice for them as well.
Yeah, she's definitely a big character, and I'd say she sets a lot of the cultural tone quite quickly. The other players I was kind of thinking of that would be, I suppose vice captain Alex Matthews. She's quite a significant player, and like that fits that kind of back row, being able to tie in the backs and the forwards a little bit better. And I was thinking as well, Mo Hunt would be an option as well. But obviously they've gone with Meg Jones, and it's definitely an interesting pick to see, particularly with her being Welsh. But she's half English and she's dedicated to the English cause, and it's interesting to see. And some injury news that we heard out of the English camp in the last week as well is that Hurd is out injured. That's a big loss.
Yeah, she was she's just like a war horse, isn't she? And she's known for her big carries, but everything she does around the pitch is quite good. But yeah, ruled out unfortunately because she was playing quite well. Like for Gloucester, I watched that Gloucester Saracens game, and she actually kind of carried them when things really weren't going well, when it looked like Saracens were going to finally get one over Gloucester. She was the person getting turnovers, making big hits, making big carries. And honestly, just doing all the selfless work. Like you see Gloucester, their wingers, Emma Singh, Mia Venner, they get all the plaudits. A lot of it has to do by the hard work she does in the centre. But then again, look, they'll have Jade Shekels come in. They'll have, maybe Zoe Harrison will play 12 or Helena Runn will play 12. And they'll still have playmakers all over the park. So even without those four players, they'll be a force to be reckoned with. And maybe it's a chance that they might give, first caps to new people as well and start building towards the next World Cup.
Yeah, they think it's 7 or 8 now that Hurd has been replaced. I think it's 8 uncapped players coming into the squad, similar enough to us with 9. So, they're obviously getting some new fresh players in. Particularly, we're looking we're at the start of another World Cup cycle now. It's a perfect time to do that, Chloe.
Yeah, definitely. But it's all well and good having them in the squad. You have to cap them. Like how many uncapped players did we bring to that World Cup that were never used, didn't see a minute of game time, missed an into pros and came home with 0 caps. So, and like all you want is the rugby players to play rugby. You need to play rugby to get experience. You need to play rugby to get better. So hopefully, like England, Ireland, as we see France, a lot of uncapped players, now is the perfect time. Start blooding some in, and like that, just putting one even in each game will make a big difference. We'll have 6 capped players then by the end of it, which is what I think most teams will try and do because, as you see with England now, they're down 4 and the competition hasn't even started. So they'll definitely be wanting to start blooding in some new players and getting people caps under their belts for the next World Cup cycle. So they have 4 years to do that.
I imagine as a new cap, and Chloe, you could talk to this, your first game, in your country's shirt. It's a big occasion. The occasion can get the better of you. So it's good to get that out of the way as early as possible and then just let them find their form.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's probably harder when you're in the squad for quite a while and, you're not getting that call up, like I'm just thinking of people like Beth and Katrina and, they've been named in a couple of squads now. They've gone to, they were there in last November, then they're in Six Nations, then they're in Beth's in a World Cup squad and you don't get to play. That's probably quite difficult versus, if it's your first time in and then you get a cap, it just kind of happens so fast that maybe you don't have time to consider it because there's so much going on. But to be in squads for nearly a year and, you're waiting, like that surely adds to a little bit of that anxiety of, oh my God, will I ever get my chance? I suppose. So I think it's nearly easier to be a first cap in a squad and get your first cap than to have been in a squad for a while, even though you probably gained so much experience from that, it might just feel like it's never going to come. And I hope that's not the case for players like Bet. Like, I think we definitely need to get her capped this Six Nations. But hopefully that's what happens. But yeah, I think first time being in there, just throw yourself into the deep end and hope that, you know, people start swimming.
With
Ian,
with
sorry, I
this
cut
amount
you
of
off.
your grant, with this amount of turnover, like, I mean, it's the most turnover we've seen in the England team in age. Is there blood in the water here for the other Six Nations teams at all? I have to ask. Like, any hope at
I
all?
don't know.
Come on!
I'm being really optimistic today, but I think there's optimism and there's insanity.
Yeah,
God,
optimism and
I'd love
foolhardiness.
to
Yeah,
say so.
yeah,
Like,
I
I'd love
know.
to say so, but like that, lose those 4 players and look at the players they bring in. Like Lark Davis will be out, Amy Cockain will play, May Campbell will be on the bench. You know, Connie Powell will probably be knocking around her. That's 3 world-class hookers they still have. And then if you look at the centres, you know, Scarrett's gone, Tatiana Hurd is gone, and then they still have, you know, possibly a 10 to play 12, Meg Jones, Jade Shekels, and, you know, maybe another uncapped player that they might throw in there. So it's very hard to see it, but I suppose no one's unbeatable. But yeah, like, I think you have to meet them on their worst day and your best day, I think, to catch them.
Yeah. I suppose so. I just wished it was just giving anyone a shot. Anyone else a shot.
Hopefully we're all wrong. Hopefully we're all wrong. And it's like the men's Six Nations and it goes down to the last day or something like that.
I would absolutely love to be wrong, and it wouldn't even have to be Ireland, to be honest. It'd be great to see some of the hegemony broken up, but sure, how and ever.
I think of all years, like this year, there is so much shifting, like that start of another World Cup cycle, getting new players in. We're getting so much experience back as well. Huge players coming back from big injuries as well. I'm not an optimist, but I feel just a hint of optimism.
Oh, it's the hope that gets you, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's kind of what ruins rugby sometimes.
I'd
so
say
looking
be
ahead,
optimistic about France. That's what I would say.
I
think
would agree.
we'll do a number on France.
Yeah, you did say that though for the quarterfinals. Just saying though, just reminding you.
And if someone hadn't a chunk taken out of their arm, I might have been right.
This is true. Yeah. This is true.
Yeah, you know.
Or if that had been called at the time.
Yeah.
And so looking ahead to that first game, it's, you know, England versus Ireland in Twickenham. You know, you think, oh, big venue for a women's game. Not anymore. 70,000 tickets sold already. Over 70,000. The World Cup final last year, 75,000. That's the biggest attendance that there has ever been for a women's rugby match, and we're going to be second to that against England. It's just astonishing. The record out of Six Nations is 58,000. That's already blown out of the water. It's incredible to see.
Yeah, and it's a real testament, I think, to England and like how they did the World Cup. You know, the way they brought it to so many locations. I know now they're bringing it home to Twickenham, but they've built such a fan base. Like, they're a team you want to support, and not just because they're World Cup winners. Like, I know we said this, you know, last year. They're such a likable team. Like, well, some of them, but most of them are a likable team. You know, they're such big characters. They're so accessible, you know, through their club game and through, you know, social media as well, that I think that's where they've really driven these kind of ticket sales. And look, it's actually amazing that we get to be part of that. While it might be a little bit overwhelming, because I'm sure that's the biggest crowd anyone will have ever played at. You know, England will be used to it in a sense from the World Cup. But I think it's just fantastic that our girls are going to get to experience that and play the World Cup winners in the home of English rugby. You know, what an opportunity.
Yeah.
Ian, when you look back at, like, you know, commentary on social media across the last number of years, and, you know, how women can't sell out stadiums and they need to earn their way by doing that in advance. I mean, that's just blown all of that out of the water. It's astonishing.
Like tears in the rain. Unfortunately, I've not managed to keep up with a lot of those gentlemen, and they were all inevitably gentlemen because I left X about 2 years ago. But yeah, it was a lot of critics and naysayers have been silenced by the growth that was always possible. But it's brilliant to see it coming through and to see it roaring through. and just see it continue apace from the World Cup. It's like you could not ask for a better opener to the Six Nations to follow that World Cup up with. It's absolutely massive.
So we move on to Scotland then. New coach in for the Scottish team, probably a new look Scottish side. It's going to be maybe a bit of creaking early on as he tries to kind of, set his stall. Chloe, do you think we're going to see something of a new and reformed Scottish team?
Yeah, I hope so. Like, I think, we've said a number of times, Scotland are a little bit like ourselves. Like, they've the ability to be, a really good side. Like, they have some really good players, and then sometimes they just kind of implode. But like that, I suppose there will be teething issues. It depends. Like, maybe he comes in for the first year and he keeps a lot of systems the same, or else, he comes in and he completely revamps the whole thing and he understands that losses come with that. So it's kind of hard to know what Scotland are going to show up, but like, they're a really proud country. They've, like Rachel Malcolm leading them. Like, you'd follow her to war any day, I would say. She's an incredible leader, an incredible player to watch. So I think she'll lead them quite well. And, if we don't see the changes this year from them, I'm sure we'll see them next year, or, even towards the end of the year when we come to the autumn. But like, they have some world-class players playing in the Prem, and they're showing up week in, week out. But obviously the loss of Niamh Gallagher, I think, is probably a big one for them. Like, she was leading the Prem in turnovers. She does that for them consistently. She gets her name in the scoreboard. I think she's a massive loss for them, along with losing Jade Conkle. Like, she retired in the World Cup.
She's retired.
So now they're not only down now like one big back row, they're down, another back row who played second row a little bit. So it's just, how do they cope with that as well? I think that that probably wasn't what they needed with a new coach coming in, was to lose such a big player like that. But look, we saw it ourselves last year. Lost Erin King and went to the World Cup, and were, a score away from knocking out France. So, weirder things can happen.
You'd almost be wondering, are they going to kind of, call Jay Conkle and say, listen, one more year. She's still playing with Quins. Any chance? Yeah, although I did see the last game for Quins, she's playing in the second row now because Aoife Wafer has just hoofed her out of 8.
Yeah, I suppose, look, we have this argument all the time. Do you, get your best players on the pitch, or what do you do? Like, anywhere. They also had, they also had a New Zealander over who played 8 and didn't get to play because Aoife Wafer was there, and then, Nicola Wydes was there as well, like, playing number 6 for them, who I don't know if anyone's gotten a chance to watch. Quite a good player as well. So I thought it was the right move. You get your best players onto the pitch, and then you have a fourth back row. But I'm sure if they rang her, she might turn out. But as a new coach, do you want to do that? Or I suppose start a World Cup cycle. So do you just say, look, we've lost Niamh Gallagher, Jade Conkin's gone, we need to just blood in some new players, and we'll take the loss for now? It's probably the better option than ringing her after to come back.
Yeah, like, I love Jade Conkle, absolutely loved watching her play, but you don't want to see that. You don't want them to see kind of passing over on the new girls that are hoping to get their place now and hoping that this is their opportunity, and them to go, nah, you're still sidelined, Interesting to see as well, missing Lisa Thompson and Sarah Bonner as well. Those are 2 experienced players also.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose, again, just the changing of the guard. Were they going to make the next World Cup? Like, I think coaches, they're the choices they have to make, like, and I suppose you can't take out every experienced player or every player who's not going to make it, because you have to have a certain element of experience in there that's going to show, the new guard the way. But it's probably a calculated decision of, have they played enough rugby to be in this squad, and, what way is, maybe, again, it could be like a systematic or a strategic decision of, they don't fit the bill anymore by their phase of play. So it's hard to know, but look, I'm sure we've seen these things before, where big players are left out and then there's an injury and they get jumped back in. Sometimes it's just to test them in their character. What do you do now? Do you go and show up and play better, or do you sit and sulk, and how do you come back from that?
So we move on to Wales then. Welsh rugby is not in the best place across the board, but Sean Lynn is in a year now, essentially. This time last year, we were looking at Sean Lynn. I think he was finishing up the Prem final, and then 6 days later, there was the Six Nations opener. He literally had a few days with the squad, but before they started, and kind of, thinking about that, they didn't do terribly with that in place. They've had a World Cup since. Are we going to look at a renewed and building Welsh side, do we think?
Yeah, again, like I haven't seen too many new players coming through from other sides. Like they'll heavily rely on that kind of cohort that come out of Gloucester. But even at that, Tui Pilatu, I think they heavily rely on her. She gets about 4 minutes off the bench for Gloucester because Maud Muir plays there, and they so little time that they sent her back to the Celtic Cup. Similarly with Kate Williams, Bethan Lewis was sent back. So for me, that's a good sign, right? They're not playing enough at their club or it's an off weekend. And I assume it's Sean Lynn has made that decision of you need game time, go play Celtic Cup. They tugged out, not with Gwalia, with the other team, I can't think. But that's good.
Thunder.
You want your rugby. Bretton Thunder. You want your rugby players to be playing rugby. But again, I just don't know if they have enough quality in the whole squad for this Six Nations. But again, probably haven't seen enough of the Welsh side and would be interested to see how they go, especially under their second year now. They should have a lot of things in place. They have a couple of players going back. They've lost a couple of players. Alex Callender ruled out yesterday, their captain. Kate Williams taking over. So, again, a little unsettling going into it that your captain gets ruled out.
Yeah, touching on the Celtic Challenge comment there, there's 25 or 26 players in the Welsh squad currently who've had some interaction with the Celtic Challenge and some game time. You might look at that from afar and think, oh, that's kind of, I suppose having trust in the Celtic Challenge, and maybe they're looking to that as their future rather than the PWR. But it does seem to be more of a trying to get players game time rather than really investing in the Celtic Challenge.
Yeah, I think like that, it's just if there was a weekend off, get people like Courtney Keats was another one. She was playing Bristol one week and next minute then I looked to play with the other teams. It's hard to keep up, I suppose, from our side of it, because we don't tend to see our players back enough. But they seem to flow in and out and get game time, and maybe they have to because they're probably at a little bit of a lesser level than the English players in the PWR. And then, there's rules in the PWR that they have to play so many English-based players. So maybe some of it's not even that they're not getting picked. It's just actually the rules around the squad that they're in. That they might be unfortunate that there's 3 English players in your position and they get preference to play. So it's probably good that they have the Celtic Challenge to fall back on then.
Yeah. So, Wales are looking at potential worst kind of three-peat. Wooden spoon 3 years in a row. Do you think, Chloe, do you predict that they're going to avoid that?
I think so. I do. I think they'll show up really well. I think they might. It's hard to know. Italy are always a funny one because you don't see too many of their players, all year round. So you kind of never know what they're going to show up with. I know a lot of them play in in France, but I don't watch too much of it. But I'm going to say they're going to have a big emotional drive to not do that. And Sean Lynn has done wonders for Gloucester. I think another year under his belt will have really kind of boosted the squad. So I don't think so. And I hope not for them either, because they, once were a team that pushed France and England. So it'd be good to see them back competitive as well, because it will drive kind of our standards as well, I suppose. So hopefully not. I think they might beat Italy. And again, when they play Scotland, you never know what way it's going to go either. That's a real rivalry.
It's always a good game.
Always a good game. So they could end up getting a result there too.
It's a real symptom of women's rugby at every level, and you're kind of hoping that the move into professionalism is going to eradicate it. But you see a team who does really, really well that then just plummets and hits rock bottom for a few years, and then they're back up again. And it's happened to us. Wales are probably in some of that cycle. Scotland don't tend to do it all that much. They tend to kind of say relatively stable, but it's definitely a symptom of back in the day when I was playing rugby, you'd see teams disappear entirely and come back again, and it's something we'd love to move away from, really, and see that consistent high performance across teams, Chloe.
Yeah, and if we had that, I think all teams would just raise the level. But again, maybe that's what's happening. Maybe the trajectory of performance is actually going so quickly at the moment and some teams just don't have like the funds or the resources to keep up with that. So, that could be a consequence of it as well. I think that things are happening so quick. We're all trying to catch England. We're going into contracts. Wales is a little bit of disarray. So maybe it's not a fact that they're not getting better. They're probably just not getting better quick enough to keep up with the teams that are, accelerating growth.
Yeah, Cian, a lot of development of women's rugby up until recently has always been, let's just, copy and paste what was done in the men's game, whether it's back in 1995 when that game became professional, or whether it's, any of the systems that they have in place now. We're seeing that that's just not possible because the evolution of the women's game is so quick.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. It's practically a different sport. It's certainly a different game. The fact that there are, to some level, that there's an audience there from a professionals men's game does have an impact, I think, to some extent. But I think more so it's the fact that I'd like to say lessons were learned from the men's game going professional. I don't think they actually were. I think it's just that every inch of women's professionalism has had to be fought for. And that has affected the way changes have occurred. That it's nothing, and then all of a sudden a big leap forward, and the stuff that doesn't work maybe falls by the wayside a little bit more quickly.
It's probably a sign as well that the people that are making decisions in the room 5 years ago was a boardroom full of men, maybe with the odd woman, and now there's so many more women in that boardroom making those decisions, and we're going to see the game evolve in a way that respects and understands the women's game.
Certainly hope so. I mean, talking about the number of pregnancies in this, post Rugby World Cup cycle, is the post World Cup is the start of the baby cycle by the looks of it. But that's obviously something that they've not really had to consider so much in the men's game. I mean, you had one of the French men's players being lauded for supporting his wife through IVF, which is great. But here you have players literally creating whole ass other human beings, and then like Alicia Joyce going back playing 123 days later.
123 days. I have a 4-year-old and I'm still not all right. Like, how does she do it? Like, that's just, and like, there's this worry that, are people who are front and center, who are athletes and at the top level of athlete you can get, kind of setting a standard that's not going to be achievable for everybody. I wonder, is it kind of damaging how hard it is for pregnancy and how hard childbirth is, when it's just like, there's a human, pull them off and off I go again. It's mesmerizing.
We'll know if there's a baby boom in December of Welsh babies, we'll know that it was because of her.
Very true, very true. Right, we'll move on to France. So the outlook in the French squad is kind of fascinating to look at. They have 16 uncapped players, which is absolutely huge, and only 18 of their squad played in the Rugby World Cup. That's a very, very sudden shift, and we haven't seen anything like, a change in the coaching or anything that's going to I suppose explain a lot of that. They're just looking to rebuild, just go back to basics and rebuild. It's quite interesting to see. Chloe, maybe this is where we can beat them.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you look though, like culturally with the men's team as well, like France are known for just their bold selection choices. Like you saw this Six Nation with the men's team. The women obviously doing the same. Like the only other team that kind of does that in the world is the All Blacks. To be that bold with selection choices, like to leave someone like Damien Penaud out of a Six Nations squad, but don't worry because we just bring in these 3 superstars who are 19 and do the job. And I kind of see that's what happens with the women's game as well. They bring in like young players and they give them opportunities, and more often than not it serves them well. But like maybe they're just like, we are sick of losing to England and we need to stop looking at short-term goals and start looking at a long-term solution to the next World Cup and how we're going to make sure we get past that semi-final stage. That's what I think it is. Like, I think they've just shifted their picture to look at that next World Cup and how they, get to that final, I suppose, and how they actually bridge the gap with England, because at the moment it wasn't working. Like, they, again, at times could have beaten them in the last 2 years, but realistically, England were in third gear in all those games. And I'm saying just England because that's generally where they kind of get caught up. But I think it's great, bringing all those players. Again, hopefully it would have been nice to catch them in the first game, maybe, that they might have had that little bit of inexperience and, brand new players, because if they have 18 in the squad, it means 5 have to be uncapped, So it might have been a nice time to try catch them. But I think we've enough internal drive from the World Cup to possibly do a job in France as well. We've heard it in Erin King's press conferences, like they have their eye on that game. That's one that they're looking out for versus France. And having Erin and Dorado back in, I think, will make a massive difference. Like, I think on the day, and again, look, you never know. I think they would have been a massive addition to our squad, and we might have come out of that game with a different result.
Talking about, the bold selection choices as well, I think something what they're ruthless at is in competition, just you're not playing well, you're dropped. We see kind of a bit of that from Razzie with the Springboks, that it's, if you're not playing well, gone. And it's not something we see too often across Irish squads, English squads, that we kind of stick to the tried and tested more so. But I kind of like that ruthless nature, Cian, where it's just, if you're not performing at the right level, toodles, somebody's going to push you out,
Yeah, I mean, it's a great luxury to have the kind of squad sizes that allow you to do that.
Yeah, you need the depth.
You do. And you see it to some extent as well with England, because they do have that depth too. But they do tend to be steady, a bit more steady than that. I mean, 16 uncapped players. Is this, I mean, they got bronze at the World Cup. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But does this kind of squad tear down say we're happy with bronze? I don't know that it does.
French are never happy with that. French are never happy, even if they win.
And when you look at depth, you have to create depth, right?
Yeah.
So the only way to create depth is to actually blood players and create a bigger, pool of players to select from. That's what England have done. The reason we can't be ruthless is because we don't give enough people a chance. We consistently go back to the tried and tested. That's why we've no squad depth, So this is where I think France will create that pool of players that they have the ability to be ruthless and say, you're not playing well enough, we're going to bring in this person. It's something that you create. It's not natural to have squad depth. You make decisions that actually create that for you. So that's what I think France are doing, so that they can make those bold decisions when it matters.
And in being that ruthless, you shorten that kind of rebuild phase. It's a very quick rebuild, as opposed to, looking at, a 3 of the 4-year World Cup cycle that you're building and trying to peak. Mm-hmm. But they risk peaking too early then as well, do they?
They do, but I think what it also gives you is everyone knows that that's the way it is. So you can't, you rule out complacency, essentially, because at the end of the day, whether you're the starting 10 and you 50 caps, if you have a bad game, they're going to cut me, and I'm going to be sitting on the bench if I'm lucky, and if not, I'm out of the squad, which means it drives high performance, and you have to perform week in, week out, or else you're gone. That's the other thing it creates. Now, that can go 2 ways too, because, players who are on edge make mistakes sometimes. So it's a fine balance, I suppose, within a squad of how do you drive that in a healthy manner. But yeah, it's we'll see. I don't know. We'll see next week how it goes, and if it's worth it or if it's not.
Looking at Italy, then, I think it's almost the opposite outlook in terms of France. France have 2 players who are over 50 caps, and Italy have 2 players fast approaching the century of caps. 9 uncapped players in the squad again. Giordano captains again. It's more of a consistent approach, it seems.
Yeah, and I suppose it's hard to know with Italy again, because I just don't see enough of them. A couple of them play in France, and obviously Rigatoni plays with Cian and a few others, but it's just hard to know what players are actually coming through. And I suppose that's the beauty of having like the under-18s and the under-21 Six Nations now. The 18s festival starting this weekend, and then the 21s in a few weeks. You get to see players come through watching those. And now the rule is ridiculous, this 21s thing, and you can have 3 players over 23 or under 23. And I'm like, what is the absolute point?
Mm.
But I suppose it gives you a chance to see those and, who is coming through. But yeah, Italy will be interesting if they've only named 9 uncapped. But again, having someone who has 100 caps is worth their weight in goals. Like, experience will carry you places that maybe your legs won't sometimes. So no harm having a few of those in there. I know we'd take, if we could take someone with 100 caps in our squad to really, show the way and have that bit of experience, we would. Like, I think Linda's the most capped player. Is she on?
I was about to say Linda,
60? Yeah, is she on 60 something maybe?
50 or 60, approaching 60, I'd say.
Yeah, like, so you could do with a few more.
My favourite thing there is that you called her rigatoni. It's good pasta. Beatrice
Rigoni. That's the 0.5% Dorados now. Lads, I'm always hungry. It's like a personality trait. Hunger.
Absolutely radlered. Absolutely radlered.
Dorados.
So obviously Ireland, we've spoken about them a bit as we're kind of assessing the other squads, but we have new captain ourselves, Erin King. A surprise to some in that she's somebody who's played a lot of 7s, hasn't played a huge amount of 15s at international level, but what she has played, my God, does she lead. And having spoken to her over at the launch, she is a determined woman, and she looks like she's setting out her stall quite early. Chloe, for you, have you any kind of nervousness about her as a captain or confidence in her?
Yeah, it's hard, like, because you need, like, being a captain as well, especially at that level, and speaking to referees, that is a skill you kind of learn too.
Yeah.
And it's one that you definitely have to learn, and you don't get right all the time, believe me. So that would make me nervous a little bit. The choice itself for her makes sense from a leadership on pitch type thing. I suppose from my point of view, I would think she possibly was selected, and Sam has, I don't want to say lost the captaincy, but maybe it's to keep it in with the contracted players and who's playing in Ireland. That's what kind of makes sense for me, and which makes sense, right? That's the way it is. If that's the reason, I don't know if that's the reason, but that's what I could kind of see. And again, building towards the next World Cup, like, Sam obviously is an incredible leader as well. Like, she's a lot of clout within the team. You can see that they gravitate towards her a lot. You just wonder, is there a bit of injury history as well that they're thinking about? Like, bar that injury Erin had, she's fairly healthy apart from that, whereas Sam has had a couple of niggles. Obviously ACL, hamstring, calf a little bit. So maybe that's what he's thinking as well, that we want someone who's, going to be here for longevity and on the pitch quite a bit. But yeah, she definitely leads with her heart. Like, we've seen that in 7s, we've seen it in 15s. Really strong over the ball, like an absolute heartbeat. Someone who just, like, you see her, like, she's just energy, like winning penalties, celebrating the small wins. I think she is a great choice, but like that, we'll be very interested to see, on the pitch how she does deal with that, because as someone who lives on the edge a little bit in the ruck, I suppose it's kind of hard then of where's the line between speaking to the ref and if you're the person who sometimes gives away the penalties. Like, I was watching that Clovers game last week, and she was done twice in a row for being off the ruck with her hands on the deck, and she wasn't one bit happy about it. But the reality is she was off her feet, and the ref gave the penalty and he was right. Like, so she'll have to just kind of make, and you don't want to see her go back into herself, because that's what she's so good at, is the ruck as well. But having that fine line now between, am I going to risk giving away the penalty and getting on the bad side of the ref, and then I'm the person who's supposed to go up and ask about the next decision? That's the part that would make me a little bit nervous, but I think her gameplay will make up for that in spades.
I have a theory, Cian, that, for some people who take on a captaincy role, it's perfect for them. It brings them out as a player. And for others, it kills their game because it's an extra factor that they have to concentrate on, and it distracts them from their game. I look, when I kind of talk about that theory, the person I always think of is Jamie Heaslip. A good player, my friends would argue, a ruck inspector, but Jesus, he inspected a lot of rucks when he was captain.
Look, I mean, it really is kind of hard to tell who it will suit and who won't, because there have been examples of people who've like taken the captaincy and it's absolutely made them. Like they came alive with it, where you might not have seen it in advance. I mean, some people are born to it, and you can just tell. I have to say that the short clip, the interview you had with Erin, it just came across every inch of her seemed a captain.
Yeah, which I was surprised because, you know, I knew her years and years ago when she was, I think she was 16 or 17. And I kind of look back on that and I was like, maybe she was bored at that age because she wasn't really kind of stepping up and leading. But when I spoke to her last week, just, you know, she talks about chasing lost causes and that how she's trying to instill that in the group, that there is no such thing as kind of switching off in the game. And you saw that, you know, one of her first games when we beat the Black Ferns. She was wise to it. We had a penalty. She asked, where's the mark? Ran up, caught them off guard, scored a try. And she, you know, she's clearly going to be somebody who is going to drive that kind of opportunistic nature as well, Chloe.
Yeah, like, geez, that was actually so long ago now. I nearly forgot about it, but I think we need
You slept through it, didn't you?
I might have slept through it. I watched it the next day. That was the old Chloe. She wasn't as optimistic. The new Chloe is more optimistic. But yeah, no, look, I remember playing her in Donnybrook. It was like that third place playoff versus Belvo that time. And Derv was playing, she was playing, Brittany was playing. And I remember thinking, Jesus Christ, we can't get your break at the ruck. I remember thinking, who is she? Like, honestly, she was wearing a scrum cap. And I spoke to Dorado about her a lot after that. And I remember saying, they need to get her in a 15s pitch because she was just a nuisance to play against. And since then, she's just grown and grown and grown. In every game, she's that absolute, like, ball of energy. Like, who wants to take a 10 meter, like, attack 10 meters out versus the All Blacks after a scramble D and manages to do so and cause a try? Like, and I suppose that's a sense of belief she has that maybe is what we need, you know, going against England, that the belief that actually we can do anything. We just have to, you know, believe that we can and execute efficiently to do so. So I'm sure she's a great leader for the group and she'll lead us well. It's just that refereeing kind of decision making that I worry about, but I do think she'll do a great job.
So looking at the 9 new caps that we have, some, you know, really quality players in there, but also some players, like you've said, that have been sort of long awaiting a cap. We have, you know, the likes of Alana McInerney and Katrina Finn, who obviously you know extremely well, you know how they play. I'm particularly excited to see Katrina Finn and you know, her potentially, I suppose, get into a battle with Dana a little bit and really push her on.
Yeah, I think so as well. Like, and she was going well, but then she got injured in one of those Clovers games. So and hasn't played in 3 or 4 weeks. So I'm actually not sure what the status is of that injury. Obviously, she's in the squad. She's, you know, seems to be up at training, but I don't know what the time frame actually is on that. But I definitely think they need to, you know, get her capped as well. Like, now the only thing I would say is I wouldn't rule out Enya Breen. Like, I thought probably didn't have the best World Cup by her standards. Was out injured then and came back for the Clovers the last 3 games. In the first game, a bit hesitant, first game back in a long time, but I thought the other 2 games she played really well. You know, they put her in at 12 and then they moved her into 10. And I thought it was kind of like the old Enya, to be honest. So I wouldn't rule her out of being in contention for that 10 shirt either, or, you know, being on the bench as, you know, covering 10, 12, 13. Would love to see Katrina get capped, and especially as we speak about building toward the next World Cup cycle. And Dana's still quite young too. But again, as we spoke, you need competition. And at the moment, if Katrina doesn't get capped, is she really a worry for Dana? Probably not. And I just think we need another game plan. Like, you know, we know the game plan with Dana. It's kick the letter off the ball, right? And to an extent, it works. But we've said this before, what happens when it doesn't work? And we need an attacking 10 and we need someone to carry the ball and, you know, be that bit of physical player. And I think that's what Katrina does. You know, she's a lovely pass. Obviously, you know, kicks off both feet. Can be great off the tee. So again, I think she's one that I would love to see cap this Six Nations.
I see like there's potential for it to be kind of similar to the men's game at the moment, the Crowley versus Prendergast. We see Prendergast who's not very good at attacking the line, but great pass, great boot on the ball. And I see Dana kind of being similar to that. She's not great at the contact and the carries. Trina Finn, plays closer to the line and seems to have more time with the ball when she does so. And those aspects of the game, they could push each other a little bit, and we could see them develop different aspects of their games. But Katrina Finn, though, as well, looking at her, she's an option for a number of positions. She's played 12. She's played a little bit of 15, I think, as well. And then we look at Niamh Gallagher coming in at 15. Obviously, we have Stacey Flood, who's loads and loads of experience. We don't have Maeve Dealey in the squad. But Niamh Gallagher is playing incredible rugby over with Trailfinders at the moment.
Yeah, unbelievable. She's like, I saw her name in the squad and then watched a couple of games, and she's just electric, and she's another kicking option as well. I think she'll probably be the first player we see capped, and I think rightly so. I think she's doing really well. I think we've needed someone to challenge Stacey for that shirt quite a bit. I don't think, to be honest, I don't think Maeve was ever really challenging her, and probably not Aoife Corey either. Aoife was playing well and then in the squad and then out of the squad, wasn't brought to the World Cup, has played well, but maybe not to the heights that she's able to, just from watching the Clovers. But I think Niamh Gallagher is someone who's consistently shown up for Eileen week in, week out. I think we will see her capped. I think she definitely is someone who will fit into the team as well. Like, she's a kick option, she's a catch and an attacking threat. She's lovely kicking ability, like putting through lovely grubbers for her teammates to score, and then has a lovely pass as well and isn't afraid of the contact. So I think definitely exciting. She's probably the most exciting player, if I was to take my Munster bias hat off.
Yeah, I would completely agree. And, like you say, that she's got a lot of kicking ability and open play off the tee. I think she was in around 75% off the tee as well, which is huge in the PWR. She's up there, I think, at the top 4 or 5. And like that, she's 19 years of age and plays with the confidence of a 28-year-old.
Yeah, I remember seeing her last year with the Irish under-20s, and, she got paired a game in one of the games, and I didn't notice her at all. Like, not that I didn't notice her, I just didn't take note, I suppose, until this year when she was named in the squad with Eileen as well, that I actually kind of stood up and said, she's actually quite good. But I suppose playing in a real free-flowing team, that has the ability and the shackles off type game plan, that you're just entitled to go for it. So again, like, she plays well in that team. Put her in our team where it's a very structured kick-back type game, and will she do as well? That's the, the difference there. That's the, the choice Scott will have to make. Does she suit his game plan? I'd hope so, because I think she's a great player. But yeah, I hopefully, like, if she does get put in, she doesn't go back into her shell, and just go with the kick it back, because I think on the counter attack, she could be really dangerous.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, I have a feeling that she's the type of player that would rise to a big occasion quite well and quite comfortably because she is that confident. I mean, we're looking at a really exciting Six Nations. Like that, England are missing a good few players. France are on the rebuild. We're almost stepping up a little bit again from the World Cup. It almost feels like the World Cup wasn't our peak, and we've so much more to come, particularly with people coming back. I think we're looking ahead at a very exciting competition. And to finish off in the Aviva against Scotland, the last update I had was north of 16,300 tickets sold. That's nearly all of the lower bowl. I think the lower bowl is 20,000 when you're including the short end. That's pretty exciting for women's rugby. And I think having spoken to somebody in the IRFU, up to 50% of the amount of tickets we sell for women's games happen in the last 2 to 3 weeks. With that being the last game, we're going to see the attendance record. I think it was at 9,000 against England last year or the year before. We're going to see that already blown out of the water. Yeah. Again, this is the evolution of the women's game, Kim.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. I mean, pretty much doubling the Irish record for attendance in a single year is just outstanding. You wouldn't see it in literally any other sport. So I know I got my tickets straight up anyway as soon as they were available, but hopefully people do get out there, and a couple of weeks to go, they get a bit of watching of the team, get it under their belts, and get a bit of an appetite for it, and go, hey, why don't we go to the match this weekend? And I know none of them will regret it if they do.
And Chloe, of all games to have in the Aviva against Scotland, there's always a bit of niggle, and it's always a tight, whether we want it to be or not, it's always a tight game. It's going to be an absolute dizzy.
Yeah, in fairness, the last few seasons we've played Scotland, they've been very close one-score games. So that's probably a good game to have picked as well. We've Italy in the Dexcom, which again is another great place to go, considering the new stand and things. So that'll be good too. But the build up to the Aviva, playing, in HQ, what else would you want to do as an Irish player in the last game? And, maybe you won't be playing for a Six Nations, but hopefully playing for a second place finish, which would be amazing and, the highest in a long time. But definitely think it'll be a cracking game. And I'm glad you got your ticket, Cian, because someone silly here booked flights to London that weekend and didn't realise the date. So I'll be watching it from London. But look, it is what it is.
I'll have a word with Clodagh and we'll get you sorted. Don't worry.
We definitely won't. It's our 30th, so we won't be having any word. I'll be in London, and that's the end of that.
All I'm
That's
saying
fair.
is passports fall into paper shredders all the time.
Yeah, and it won't be mine anyway. So you enjoy. But I'll be that lunatic in London. I'll be that lunatic in London watching the game.
So to wrap it up, or before we wrap it up, just looking at some news during the week, the PWR is seeking expressions of interest. This was an interesting one that I didn't see coming, and I think it's a little bit strange in how it's been conducted, in that it's not something that's behind closed doors going to the unions to talk about broadening that out and having a kind of a Britain and Ireland competition. Perhaps that actually did happen and nobody took them up on it, and now they're kind of, I suppose, pushing it out publicly, making a public statement of it and inviting expressions of interest, circumventing the unions. Cian, do you think this is a ploy?
It's hard to know. I mean, it could be that, it could be a bit of a pure stunt, or a kind of controlling the story by getting it out there and being an open expression of interest, or it could be straight up. It's kind of hard to know.
I mean, I wonder, like the Celtic Challenge, where it is now, the IRFU have nailed the colours to the mast. That's what they're hoping is going to be that kind of step beneath the Irish squad in terms of the pathway. But whether that's ever going to materialise, it's nowhere near where it needs to be now.
No.
Is the easy option, Chloe, to just go, right, we're gonna develop one or two teams, stick them into the PWR, they have a competition set up, it's thriving, and we can leverage that?
It is a cute JP McManus back in the squads. But without that kind of money, that's the reality. Is it's going to be money. It's not going to be for a lack of want from a club to do it, or from whether it's Clovers or whether it goes to the provinces. I don't think it would be a lack of want. I think it's a lack of finance, and that's what will make this not viable for anyone in Ireland. There's already talks of the Celtic Challenge going to the provincial setup, but who funds that then to the provinces? Munster definitely don't have enough money to fund it. They can't
Not
even
at
pay
the
their own
moment,
staff.
no.
You know what I mean? So how are they going to fund the women's team that possibly is going to play, across the channel as well? It's just not looking likely. I don't see it coming to fruition, if I'm really honest. But wouldn't it be amazing if it did? The other side of it is would we need to join the PWR if we actually just invested in the AIL and, got rid of the Celtic Challenge and let the 60 odd players that they've taken every weekend for the last 12 weeks play in the AIL, disperse them around the whole country into those clubs, and then we have our own high quality competition that we don't need to go over there. And then maybe we might get a couple of good players back that will elevate it even more. So yeah, I don't see it as a fix. If anything, it would be a plaster. It's just, if we were to actually put in a team, I think it would just devalue the AIL even more than they already have, if I'm really honest.
Yeah, and the Celtic Challenge has been that enormous drain, like you touched on there, for the AIL, and a lot of the AIL clubs just struggling to put teams together when they really shouldn't be. This should be the bread and butter of women's rugby, and it should be a huge draw from grassroots rugby into the AIL, and it's just struggling with that at the moment. And when you look at costs, and obviously you talk about the enormous costs, when you're looking at what the PWR are asking for, I think was it 1.2 million sterling commitment? That's what 1.5, 1.6 million euro. What are the operating costs of an AIL team at the moment? It's probably 250,000 maybe.
Jeez, I don't know. I don't get my involved in the books. I just show up and say. That's about it. But, it's a lot of money.
They're probably better off. I remember talking to somebody from Railway a few years ago, and they were talking about, you need to, you're looking at your kind of 150, 250,000 to run an AIL well, to get your gym, to get your video analysis, your strength and conditioning, all of those factors, your nutrition and stuff. It's too big a leap up for any of the AIL squads they are looking for expression of interest from clubs as well as the IRFU, but are they really? It's not realistic.
Yeah, 45 to 55 players as well. How is that realistic to have 45 players capable of playing at that level in the PWR? You'd have to amalgamate clubs to do it. If you were to do it, it would have to be like that. You'd nearly need the Glovers and the Wolfhounds to go in together. You know what I mean? It wouldn't.
Yeah.
There's no possible way any club has enough players to compete at that level with those kind of numbers.
Yeah,
no, they're saying any playing organisation, but it's with a nod and a wink. This is an open invitation to the unions.
Yeah, I'm putting pressure on them, and they're probably hoping that the clubs or the provinces will go, oh yeah, come on, go for it. They're not going to go for it because it costs them. It's. Yeah. I think it is a bit of a stunt, and it's an interesting one, but I don't think it's going to get the traction that they really want to. I don't think they're going to get the furore kind of people pushing the union to do it. So listen, looking at the Six Nations competition, for a bit of fun, Cian, predictions. Who's first? Who's one spoon, and where are Ireland coming?
Okay, let's see. Am I going to be horribly boring and predictable here? Yeah, I am. That's my thing. England are going to win it. Surprise, everybody. I think England are going to win. France, I reckon, are going to come second despite the upheaval. I think we'll be third again. Spoon. It's probably going to be Wales again for me.
So no shake-up then at all. Chloe,
no shake-up whatsoever.
So I think England will win. I think we'll come second. I think we'll do a job on France. When you look at the World Cup heartache, a couple of players back in, Dorado and Erin King, and a couple of new players, and France's kind of inexperience. I don't think anyone will get the wooden spoon, actually. I think everyone will win a game. I think Wales might still finish bottom, possibly, but I think they might have beaten. There will be a couple of teams in and around points and bonus points that will make the difference, but I think they'll finish with a win.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'm going to be really brave. Now, I caveat this with my fantasy team performances being shocking. So, Ireland to win and upset absolutely fecking everybody. France will beat England. We'll beat France. Last day in the Aviva. It's going to be a kick by Katrina Finn in the last minute, and we win. That's going to happen. Put me money on it. The whole house is going on it. It's going to happen.
That's the triple crown as well.
Paddy Powers.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I don't think I'll waste my money on it.
Are England beating us? You said France to beat England, us to beat France. Or England beating us in this scenario?
England just don't show up on the day. They're overawed by the 70,000 and we just get the walkover.
Like the bus doesn't arrive, is it, or something?
Yeah, it gets lost and heads to somewhere in the Midlands. Yeah. I'm not an optimist, but I can pretend to be. Right, so that has been.
If it's true, you'll be the only person who said it to take it.
If I'm right, it'll be a miracle, and I will absolutely dine out on it for years to come. So yeah, this is lining up to be a really, really big championship. Serious potential for upset. Or, well, if you're talking to me, at least that's what I think. So make sure you get behind the women as much as you can. Get to those games. Get to the Aviva. We're going to absolutely blow that record out of the water. And if you can't get to it, get to the pub. Spend your money. Back the women in whatever way you can. Follow MudderRucker. Follow us on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back to recap games as much as possible. And yeah, let's look ahead to the Six Nations. Come on, Ireland.